Hello team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and today we're going to discuss about what is threat hunting. If you have zero idea about threat hunting, then this video is for you, because in this video we're going to discuss about what is threat hunting, what is a skill set is required for becoming a threat hunter, what is a threat hunting methodology, and what are the tools available for conducting a threat hunting. My name is Prab Nair, and for more information you can refer my LinkedIn profile, and if you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Okay, so we have to start with the introduction of a threat hunting, but before going to discuss about what is threat hunting, let me first explain you why we need this and why this particular topic is becoming a top trend in the information security industry. When you're talking about any attack, okay, if you're talking about traditional attacks and all that, which is basically blocked by some traditional solutions. Let's take an example here. If you take an example of your system, so this is your system, and this system is basically protected by the antivirus. Suppose there is an antivirus. Okay, now there is a hacker. Okay, hacker basically uploaded some application. You downloaded the application from the website. When application downloaded in a system, antivirus scan the file, check the signature of the file, and compare again the signature database. If signature match, it is a virus. So antivirus can able to detect virus only when they know the signature of that virus. Now what about the hacker is very advanced. He built his own new script and he basically posted on a new website. He downloaded, he run. In that case, antivirus failed to detect that. So what is this? So this is called as a pattern of attack. So this is called as a pyramid of pain. Okay, so if I block a particular signature with this assurance that okay, tomorrow if any new antivirus or any antivirus come with the same signature, we can able to block. Attacker modify the signature. We try to block some IPs, so those IP should not able to attack me. Attacker change the IP. The traffic is coming from a particular domain and targeting my server. Attacker change the domain. Attacker change the system. So it is easy for the attacker to modify this. But okay, and it is easy for us to block this. Concern come into the picture if you're directly targeting their tools and techniques they are using to perform an attack. Example, I am an attacker, I'm using a Metasploit example, okay, or I have prepared my own attack platform to generate a script and launch a script. So if I understood as a security defender, as a cybersecurity professional, I understood this is the platform they are using to launch an attack, and I basically prepare some kind of a traffic profile based on the platform. Or if I basically prepare some kind of a techniques and parameters by which in a proactive manner I can able to block that. So that become a pain for the attackers. So we are now searching for the attack patterns. We are now searching for the process which attacker is using by which they're trying to target us, trying to hack us. So proactively we can update those parameters and protect us from those advanced kind of an attack. And that is where the threat hunting come into the picture. One more example I can give you about threat hunting is, so we have a house 1, we have a house 2, and we have a house 3. To protect from robbers, robbery and all that, they basically install the physical security gates, a very good security gate. No one can able to break that. Now there is an attacker. He understood very well it is difficult to rob the house, okay, with the security gates. So what they tried to use some advanced technique. They basically knocked the door. They convinced the owner of the house that they are from NGO. Based on the trust, they opened the door, and these basically thieves able to rob the house. Same happened with this also, but here in the house 3, the owner 3 understood this entire attack pattern. So along with having a strong physical control, he also understood what is a mode of attack they're going to use. So same thing happened. The robbers basically knocked the door, the thief knocked the door. And now what happened? The owner of the house understood, okay, you're doing the same thing with me. he immediately informed the security professionals. Oh, sorry, he immediately informed the police, cop, and they come to that place and they try to stop this particular attack. They try to take them into the jail under the custody. So what we learn from this, even you have a traditional physical control, you would also need to understand what is the attack pattern they are using, because these solutions are trying to block on a static manner. What we need to know is dynamic things. So a lot of solutions today protect your network endpoint against the most cybersecurity threats. But no one can claim a security solution is 100% guaranteed to stop every attack. So to understand the attack pattern, understand the hacker parameters, understand the hacker perspective, we basically do the threat hunting. What is threat? Threat is an activity. Threat is an action that is basically performed against the vulnerability. So if you take example here, we have a hacker or we have an attacker. And this is basically called as a website. This is the website. So a hacker basically hack into the website. How? By discovering the vulnerability in the website. He discovers some patches, he discovers some weak password, and through that he gain access to the system. So hacker is basically a threat, website is the asset, and vulnerability was the weak password. So as a security professional, we understood this entire threat pattern. And we try to understand, okay, this is the possibilities we have where the hacker can able to hack into the system. So according to that, we have update the solutions. So tomorrow if similar thing happen, he might be failed. We understood this, we identified this threat, that is basically called as a threat hunting. So that is why it says threat hunting is a practice of proactively searching for the cyber threats that are undetectable in the network. So proactively, if we understood this, we can able to stop the attack in the future. Cyber threat hunters bring the human element, okay, to enterprise security, complementing the automate system, because automate system is already there which trying to detect the attacks. But adding a human behavior, adding a human learning, we can able to understand more maturity about the threats. They are more skilled IT security professional who search for the logs, monitor them, neutralize the threat before they can cause a serious problem. Ideally, they are the security analysts from within the company, IT department who know its operation well, but sometimes they also use the outside information. So question is how they understand the threat. See, first they collect the data. Okay. From that, they basically form the information. Then they basically apply their knowledge, and that basically build the wisdom. Understood? So example, like we have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C. We understood in the system A, we found some logs about the IP called 1.1.1. We identify some logs of 1.1.1 in the system B also, 1.1.1 system C also. We know that this system is not introduced to exposed to the internet. This is for the internal communication. How the hell the 1.1.1 was able to access the system? So this data we have captured, we form the information, how they hack, how the 1.1 able to access the system, apply our knowledge and form the wisdom. So this is how we identify, okay, someone is trying to hack this particular system from outside and this is the IP. So we block this entire threat pattern in the solution. So tomorrow if someone try to hack the system or someone try to access the system by this 1.1, we can able to block them. So we use the data, form the information, apply the knowledge and build the wisdom idea. Is it clear? Which is called as a wisdom. So relationship between the data, knowledge, intelligence is a practice through which we known as a knowledge pyramid. So in it, we can see how the facts through the measurements are transformed into data that can be extract information from processing it. When analyzed together, it can be transformed into the knowledge, and this knowledge interact with our own experience and form the basis what we called as a wisdom. And ultimately, it is the ultimate wisdom that we rely on the decisions, and based on that we try to block the things. So now the question is how to perform threat hunting. So we have some steps. The first step is called as a hypothesis. Hypothesis means the threat hunts begin with the assumptions or declaration about the hunter view and what threats may exist in the area and how to discover them. Okay, so threat hunters use the threat intelligence, environmental knowledge, and their own experience and creativity to build a logical path to detection. Example, if we have a MITRE attack framework, I already covered the MITRE attack framework. In the description box, you can see the video of that, URL of that, so you can check the detailed information about the MITRE. So they use some kind of a predefined attack matrix. Okay, these are the websites from where we can collect any website OS information. Okay, so we know that, okay, there are some websites we have, like Shodan is there and OS websites are there, from where if we enter any web server IP, we'll get the OS details. So let me check my website, my company OS details also there on the website. So this is basically called as a hypothesis. Okay, so here we collecting the information from all the security solution, host logs and all that. Then second part is called as a collect and process the intelligent data. Okay, so threat hunter to a specific area of network, they do the investigation when any potential activities are basically detected. So here what we're doing is we hunting for the threats which require the quality intelligence and data. So example, like we have a SIM. So we have a plan here for collecting, centralizing, processing data is required, and SIM can provide that insight. We can use the records for the activity, and that is it give me the initial phase of information gathering. Okay, hypothesis is more like an assumption, but SIM already collected some information, so we can use that information. Okay, so example, like we have a firewall here. Okay, and we have a switch here. We have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C, and this is basically we have a SIM. I also made a detailed video on SIM. So now what happened is there is a IP. Suppose 1.1.1.1 IP was able to bypass the firewall. So that record goes to SIM. It attacks system A, B, C. It is not an attack. It is more like, trying to gather more and more information. It is not in a stage of that, okay, 1.1 hack into the system. So SIM basically collect the log from all the system, normalize, aggregate, and try to correlate. Okay, there is a IP 1.1.1 was able to bypass the firewall. Okay, and then it was something abnormal activity, and then it was able to access the system A, B, C. Okay, so attack was not happen, but this is the information we collected. Okay, so in this base, we're trying to assume that can be consider this as a threat because he was able to access the three systems on the same time. So this is called as a collect the data and apply your intelligence. Sometime what happened, there is a trigger. Okay, like SIM discovered some abnormal activity, antivirus discovered some abnormal activity, your configuration build discovered some activity. So sometime from that point of view also it triggers. So this is the point where threat hunter to a specific area of network for investigation when potential malicious activity is detected. So hunter collect the information about the environment and raise is hypothesis about the potential threat. Here, the trigger point where threat hunter to a specific system we're talking about, for example, a security may search for advanced threat. So that use a tool like fileless malware to evade the existing defense. So that kind of a trigger we're trying to discover here. Okay. So next phase, once we collect the data by the trigger and all that, we do the further investigation. So investigative technology may also seek or search deeply for a possibly destructive abnormalities in a system or a network and also determine whether they are harmless or malicious in the end. Sometimes we also use the EDR, endpoint detection response, EDR. So EDR tool offer a advanced threat detection, investigation and response capability. It includes the incident detection search and investigation alerts. It also helps us with suspicious activity validations, and it is also nowadays used for threat hunting, malicious activity detections and containment. So we can use these kind of tools and other tools to investigate the particular detected threats. And finally, we talk about the communication. So when you're talking about the communicating malicious activity intelligence to operation security team so they can respond to the incident and mitigate the threats, because now we have information and now we need to protect the organization from the information. So the resolution phase involve about communicating the relevant malicious parameters. The data gathered about the malicious begin activity can be fed into the automate technologies to improve the effectiveness without further human intervention. So we will feed this information in our preventative control so they can able to block such kind of a attack pattern. So first step is hypothesis, where we're doing assumptions, doing some research. Then based on that, we collect the data. We look for the triggers. If we discover any triggers, we do further investigation. And then finally, we prepare the report. And that basically report, that script, that attack pattern will update in the tool so they can able to block that kind of an attacks. So question is, what are the type of threat hunting we have? So question is, what are the type of threat hunting we have? So we have a two type of threat hunting. One is basically called as a structured threat hunting, and one is basically called as a unstructured hunting. Okay, structure hunting or unstructured hunting. So structure hunting is more like a proactive. Okay, so structure hunting or structure threat hunting is based on the indicator of attacks. Okay, indicator of attacks. And we also look for the attacker tactics, techniques and procedures, TTP we called. Okay, so threat hunters or threat hunts are coordinated based on the TTP, which is discovered on the network. So using the TTP, threat hunters can identify the threat actors during the attack stage before they do harm to the environment. So we follow a particular standard. We follow the MITTRE framework here. We use the enterprise framework here, by which we basically try to identify the particular threat. And second is basically called as a unstructured hunting. So unstructured hunt is initiated based on a trigger. See, in a structure hunting, there's nothing harm. Okay, there's no harm so far to the enterprise, but unstructured, there is a trigger was generated. There was a abnormal activity was there. Okay, so we use that as a primary source. So unstructured hunt is initiated based on a trigger. Okay, one of many indicator of compromise was there. So this trigger often cause a hunter to look for the pre and post detection patterns. So we have some guiding approach. So guiding their approach, the hunter can research far back as a data retention and previously associated offensive parameter. So it is purely based on the initiation of the trigger. Okay, so difference here is structure hunting is more like an advanced stage where we proactively identifying new threats by using some kind of established frameworks and all that. And unstructured hunting is based on the current indicator of attacks. Okay, this kind of an attack happened. So we would like to know what is the further impact we have. So summary I can say about structure and unstructured is structure program more effective, reliable, and it is predictable than unstructured program. We are not waiting for something. Unstructured program can produce impactful result, but they do less effectively than they otherwise could. So program can have a mix of structure and unstructured characteristics. There is always a room for improvement. It is up to you. It is up to the organization how they want to improve their threat hunting procedure, how they want to improve their cybersecurity procedures. Summary is that structure and structure is there. Structure, we are following some standard, we are following some approach, and proactively we trying to identify new threats and everything. Unstructured is based on some random triggers is generated. It give me the idea about, okay, we need to do further attacks, research about the attack, so we can able to protect the further attacks from there. Okay, so that is basically called as a structure and unstructured threat hunting. So we have a different type of tools that can be used for performing a threat hunting. And this tool is logically divided into three categories: situational, intelligence driven, and third is called as analytic driven. So when I say situational, it's more like we use some kind of a enterprise risk assessment. Okay, where we analyzing the threats in the organization, we evaluating the company, we evaluating the individual trends which is happening against the company. Okay, and based on that we try to identify threat. That is more like a situational. So the tools like YET, artificial intelligence engines, these are basically tools are there by which we can do that. Second is called as a intelligence driven. Intelligence driven is more about the example like crowd FMS we have driven, this is called Yara, YARA, Yara is there. So they basically add some kind of a scripts which is fueled by a threat intelligence report. Okay, it is more about external. Okay, so we have external threat intelligence reports, we have external threat intelligence feeds, malware analysis, doing a vulnerability scan, and based on that we try to predict the threat. And third is basically called as an analytic driven, where we use some kind of a tool like UEBA, user and entity behavior analytics, and machine learning to develop accumulated risk score and do the further hypothesis. Okay, so we have a tool like Multigo, Cuckoo Sandbox, by which we're trying to identify the threats. So situational is more like an enterprise risk assessment. Intelligence, where we're using external data, and analytics are basically more about based on the behavior. Okay, based on the data which is generated by the tool called UEBA, and machine learning to develop the accumulated risk score. So I'm going to discuss some more tools in detail so that give you better visibility. So some tools we have like CyberChef. Okay, CyberChef is a threat hunting tool that is well known across the security professionals, and it is released by secretive agencies known as a GCHQ in 2016. And the tool is very good in design for analyzing and decoding data. So that is basically called as a CyberChef. Second is called as a phishing catcher. Phishing remain one of the biggest threat to the organization, and it is no surprise then the threat hunter recommend the proactive threat hunting tool is phishing catcher. So phishing catcher is an open source tool which is used to detect the phishing domains in a real time. Okay, so and how does it do that? Everything is captured in the phishing capture. Third is called as a DNS twist. DNS twist, again, it's a very powerful tool that use a various fuzzing algorithm to detect the suspicious domain. Then we have a GNU plot, one threat hunting tool that got rave reviews from the threat hunter was a simple tool dating back to 1986, which is called GNU plot. So GNU plot is an open source tool that allow the plotting of data on 2 or 3 dimensions. Okay, and they is used in their every threat hunting process. Then we have a Yara. One of the most common threat hunting tool mentioned by hunter was Yara. So Yara is a tool with an interesting legacy. The original purpose was for the malware classification. The format has become popular choice for the hunter. So you can use these tools in details, okay, for your reference. This video is only help you to understand the basics of threat hunting. Then you can apply this knowledge and do the further threat hunting in your profile. So question is, how I can be an expert in threat hunting, because future is a threat hunting, future is there, definitely is there. So question is how to become a pro in threat hunting. So there are some skill is required for becoming a good threat hunter. Mostly it is a profile from a SOC. So first most important thing nowadays we required is data analytics and reporting. So you need to have an understanding of pattern recognitions, technical writing, data science, basic knowledge of data science, problem solving and research you have, because you are talking about the probabilities of happening. So based on the probability of happening, what is the possible outcome we have, that understanding is required. Second is some knowledge of operating system and network, how OS work, how network work, how the boot process works. So that understanding is required. You need to have a very good understanding of networking protocols and everything, like how TCP UDP works, their headers and everything. In some area, you need an information security experience like malware engineering, adversary tracking, and endpoint security. You need to have a very clear understanding about the past and current TTPs used by the attacker. And yes, this skill is also required the programming language. At least one scripting language and one compiled language is common. So through the modern tools are increasingly eliminating the need for using a scripting language. So yes, one scripting language is required for the threat hunting. So this is all from my side, team. If you find this video useful, do share in your network. Might be it will be useful for your friends. And do let me know in the comment box what are your popular tools you're using for threat hunting and why. And do let me know what is the next video shall I make on a threat hunting. Thank you so much for watching my video. Goodbye.